In today's video, we're going to look at the new Server Stack Blazor WASM or WebAssembly template for .NET 8 and work with the Tailwind CSS components library to quickly create great looking custom UIs for Blazor WebAssembly. Blazor gives us a modern front-end framework that enables developers to work completely in C#, and when combining this with backends like Server Stack, we get to reuse our backend models, giving us completely typed end-to-end services. While the default Blazor templates from Microsoft are still using Bootstrap, more and more developers are making great-looking applications quickly using Tailwind CSS. The new Server Stack Blazor WASM template also uses ASP.NET Core Identity for authentication and provides Tailwind-styled pages already done for you for login, registration, and profile management. Tailwind itself is free to use, but they also offer commercial sets of quality pre-made components. The use of these components can be a huge value to a team without a designer, since they can be heavily reused and target many different use cases. In this video, we're going to create a new project from scratch using the Blazor WASM template, and also show how Blazor and Tailwind work together with hot reload and incorporate a Tailwind UI component into our application to show the developer workflow. Before we get started, we'll want to have a few things installed, and that includes the .NET 8 SDK, Node 18 LTS or higher with NPM, and the Server Stack .NET X tool. To create your Blazor WASM application, you can use the command xnew space blazor-wasm space myapp, where myapp is the name of your project. This will create your project in a folder with the same project name that you've specified, and once created, we can open the solution with your favorite .NET IDE. With the solution now open, we can see our standard 4 Server Stack projects of host, service interface, service model, and tests, as well as an additional client project, which is where our Blazor WebAssembly components will live. If we take a look at the program.cs files in both the client and the app host projects, we will see some initialization code which will actually run separately in the browser for the client project and on the server for the app host project. Our server registers the use of both interactive server components and interactive WebAssembly components so that you can use either to get the experience you want. It also enables the use of the interactive auto render mode for the components in the client assembly. And this is what enables that fast initial load that transparently switches from server rendering to WASM rendering when the user next visits the page. Running our application for the first time, we can see it has several example pages and functionality built into the template, all laid out using Tailwind CSS, which is cleanly designed and responsive by default. While our application is running, we can edit our Blazor pages, and for most types of changes, they are updated in our browser automatically using hot reload. So while our changes are automatically hot reloaded, if we try to make a simple style change to using the text 8XL style in Tailwind, nothing happens. And this is because of how Tailwind works, and even though text-8XL is a valid style, it isn't in our application's style sheet automatically. This Tailwind CLI process works as a running node process that actively listens for changes in your files, and it looks for known instances of Tailwind CSS classes and pulls them all together with configuration, generating a single app.css file. This approach reduces the size of the full CSS that's needed to only the styles that you use in your application. The Tailwind CLI also watches these same files for any changes and regenerates on the fly as needed. The template is set up with npm scripts to run Tailwind and watch for your changes. So you can run this script with the command npm run UI:dev from a separate terminal in your app host project. So now if we make the same change with a new style in the heading that hasn't been used in our project yet, Tailwind will detect those styles and include any of the styles in the outputted CSS, which have been referenced by our application. And this Tailwind is integrated with our project using a tailwind.config.js, which you can configure to look at specific paths and files for those Tailwind CSS names, as well as some themes and other settings. And you can have further customizations by adding to the tailwind.input.css file, and the rest is run from the npx script in the package.json file. So now that the Tailwind CLI is all set up and running and watching our solution, let's utilize the Tailwind UI components to create an easy to use dashboard for admin users. So navigating to the bookings CRUD page, we have an auto query grid server stack Blazor component that enables us to create, edit, or delete entries as needed. But what if we need to create a page for managers to get a snapshot of statistics to track how the company is doing with bookings? We could design this ourselves, but if you have access to the tailwindui.com components, you can look through those components lists and see if there's anything that suits. Scrolling down, they have a section called Data Display and a group of stats components which look exactly like what we're looking for. They have plain HTML as well as Vue and React components ready to use, but since we'll be integrating this with our own Blazor application, we'll just take the plain HTML. Copying the HTML and opening the admin index.razor page in the client project, we can just paste the example straight in. Tailwind detects the new styles and our page hot reloads, and we can see the exact Tailwind component has been transplanted into our application. This productive workflow is possible because Tailwind uses consistently named utility classes. It enables us to just drop in HTML and it views as expected. And now, because we're in Blazor, we can just use C# to populate this with real data, reusing our request DTOs and our booking model, and doing some simple statistics once we have the data fetched from our server stack service. And this is the beauty of the Blazor workflow. We didn't have to do any additional ceremony to then be productive on our client, in this case a browser. We didn't need additional language tools or anything like that. We simply just reused the code we already had to populate the data we need. And because we're using npx to run Tailwind, we don't have any external dependencies registered in our project.json file, and we get all of this with hot reload support to provide an extremely fast development environment for building great looking Blazor WebAssembly user interfaces with a minimal of hassle. The server stack Blazor WASM template gives you the Blazor development workflow you love, along with Tailwind styling, which can make short work of building a great looking new project. And with the new features of Blazor for .NET 8, we get the flexibility of interactive render modes on a per page basis, as well as static rendering for building great looking dashboards quickly. By utilizing Tailwind and Tailwind components, you can pick and choose the functionality you need with the components that provide a consistent visual design, freeing you up to focus on the functionality you need to build for your applications. Well, that's it for this video. If you have any questions or feedback about our videos or templates, please let us know in the comments. And if you want to know more, check out our other videos or join us on the ServerStack community through our Discord and GitHub discussions. ServerStack is free for individuals and open source projects, so anyone is welcome. And as always, thanks for watching.